Boosting aid into Gaza and reconstruction after Israeli troops withdraw also up for grabs. ABC's Martha Raddatz has more.
The destruction there is enormous. 2.6 million people, 90%, it is estimated, have been displaced, and Hamas says 46,000 have been killed.
President Biden says elements of the deal are similar to the plan he introduced last May. He delivers his final address to the nation tonight before leaving office. Confirmation hearings on Capitol Hill continued today for President-elect Donald Trump's key cabinet picks. It included Marco Rubio for Secretary of State and Pam Bondi, tapped to be Attorney General. Crews in Southern California still dealing with strong winds for one more night. This is ABC News.
I'm Lisa Hale with WGBW News, your news roundup in quick podcast form. You can find it anywhere at the WGBW website, WGBW.fm. For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. Thanks to the quick thinking and observational skills of bank employees, a suspected bank robber was arrested less than 20 minutes after police received the call. The Wells Fargo branch on South State Street in Appleton was robbed Tuesday morning. Police recovered the money when they arrested a 63-year-old Appleton man who is being held in the Outagamie County Jail. The suspect is expected to face charges of robbery. The Wisconsin DOT and Governor Tony Evers announced the WIS 47 and WIS 55 improvement project in the Menominee Nation will receive a $25 million grant from the Federal Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity program. The RAISE program supports surface transportation infrastructure projects with significant local or regional impact that are difficult to fund through other programs. The project will resurface nearly 40 miles of road and replace about 100 culverts. Road improvements will include safety features such as guardrail upgrades, centerline rumble strips, shoulder widening, and 6-inch pavement marking, as well as the relocation of a pull-off area near Markton and multimodal improvements near Neopit, including lighting, ADA-compliant curb ramps, and sidewalk replacements. There's a lot of money already flowing in the race for the state Supreme Court. Civic Media's Stuart J. Waddles has more.
Announced candidates have released fundraising forms with the race already breaking fundraising records. Susan Crawford says she's got $2.8 million. Brad Schimmel's report shows $2.2 million raised. The race is expected to surpass the previous record-breaking $51 million spent in the 2023 Protasiewicz-Kelly contest. Estimates suggest total spending could reach $80 million.
I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News.
The Bucks clobber the Kings. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. NBA, the Bucks jumped out to an early lead and beat the Kings 130-115. Milwaukee with a 21-2 run in the first quarter. Doc Rivers.
We came out, played the right way, ball moved. I think 7 or 8 guys had over 9 attempts, 45 threes. That just tells you the ball's moving.
College hoops, Greg Gard gets his 200th career win as Wisconsin held on to win 70-68 over Ohio State at the Kohl Center. David Joplin with 30 points as Marquette gets past DePaul in overtime, 85-83. NFL, Matt LaFleur on what does Jordan Love need to improve as the Packers quarterback.
I think the next step is just to continue to evolve as a vocal leader. I think that just kind of comes with the position naturally, and I think he's taken steps to get there, but I think he can really demand a lot because the locker room, they respect him.
That's Packers head coach Matt LaFleur with sports. I'm Mike Clemens.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. A patch or two of freezing drizzle or flurries possible this evening, otherwise mostly cloudy tonight and rising temps through the 20s. Warmer tomorrow, more clouds, a high in the mid-30s. Upper 30s Friday. For the weekend, much colder temperatures and a bitter breeze. Currently 21 degrees.
There was a time when barbecue was perfect. A strong, reliable flavor that could be counted on. But then big manufacturers decided that barbecue needed to be zesty or spicy or sweeter or whatever. If you miss the good old days of great tasting barbecue, we'd like to introduce you to Grandpa's Barbecue. Made in small batches from Grandpa's original recipe. Buy yours online today at grandpasbarbecueshop.com.
Ever tried balancing a dozen eggs in one hand while hopping on one foot? Or maybe juggling cats while riding the unicycle? Sounds ridiculous, right? But guess what? That's exactly what texting while driving is like. Your human brain only has the capacity to focus on one thing at a time. So when you're behind the wheel, give driving your undivided attention.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
John Mino and Jim Schmidt.
On Thursday's show, we have Kristen Ambrose from Point Mortgage talking about those mortgage rates, and Rob Demoski from ESPN and Addie T.
Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is LIte with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood. And now, a guy who still likes to build a fort, Pete Schwaba.
Welcome, Wisconsin. This is LIte. I am Pete Schwaba. We are broadcasting live statewide from beautiful downtown Green Bay on what a day that almost seems tropical compared to yesterday. I'm not going to lie. What do you think, Conrad? It was nicer today. Right?
It's still really cold.
You live in Wisconsin, buddy. What do you expect?
Let's
embrace it.
You know how I know it's like winter's in full effect now? Is today I sneezed and my nose started bleeding.
Oh, that's a lot of information.
Because it's so dry.
So dry.
Just a normal sneeze. I was like,
that's
horrible. There it goes.
I know. That's just the worst. You got a humidifier? You have a humidifier?
Yeah, I do.
You got to have that, right? This is LIte. It's great to have you wherever you're joining us from in Wisconsin. Welcome. We have a great show tonight. We will try to warm you up with insightful conversation with great guests tonight. Maybe we'll have a laugh or two along the way. We'll talk about some music and the goings-on in the business we call show. It is Wednesday, and I don't know, a Wednesday in mid-January, it's just like, I don't want to sound like a downer, but that is pretty much the suckiest time of year.
Yeah.
There's no gelato. If I want a gelato right now, I couldn't even go next door and get gelato.
I don't even know where you could get gelato right now.
I don't want gelato right now. I'm just saying if I wanted gelato. Are they even open? Like, can you even go there and get coffee?
I think they closed for the season.
Oh, man, that's just so Bush League. All right, we have a great show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about storytelling tonight. We've got kind of a theme. We've got storytellers on the show as guests. Both of them, don't ask me how I did this, folks, both of them have a connection to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Some might argue the UP should actually be part of Wisconsin. If you look at the map.
I agree.
Would that make us a greater state, or would it not really matter? I mean, the UP is a beautiful place. And some great movies have been shot there. We've had our first guest tonight, Jody Hinman, is about the fourth author we've had from the UP since we've been on the air. And northern Wisconsin has a lot of authors, too. I don't know what the connection is, but that just seems like a great place for creative people to go and think of ideas and write books. Jody Hinman is our guest at 6:35. She will be in studio. She and her husband, Chris, made the drive down from the UP. That is dedication. She has a new book. It's called The Hole They Dug. Let me double check that. The Hole They Dug for Me. I closed my browser, Conrad. I got nothing in front of me. What is happening?
Like you trying to say British before.
The Hole They Dug for You. I couldn't say the word British. Yeah, every once in a while I have trouble focusing on a word, and it was coming out like British. Finally, though, I nailed it. I nailed the word. Jody Hinman is here, folks, at 6:35. She is an author who just recently got her first book published. It's called The Hole They Dug for You, a novel. And it's gotten pretty good reviews so far. It's out there for your consumption, just recently released. I've known Jody for a few years now. She is a great girl, and I'm very excited for her to have her first book published. She'll be here in just a few minutes, and we'll talk to her about the book, and we'll let you know where you can get it. Who doesn't love a good mystery? When I read, I don't read anymore. I'm not a reader. I was an English major when I was younger, and I was a voracious reader. But I have no attention span anymore. So I don't read as much, but when I do read, I love mysteries. And Jody's book is a good mystery. So we'll discuss that at 6:35. And then, Conrad, are you ready for this?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. I know Conrad's excited for our second guest, as am I. I'm more excited to have our second guest on to talk to him as a filmmaker. Conrad, I think, likes the Packer angle more. Either way, it's going to be great to have this guy on the show. Anders Lindwall will be here. He's the director of Green and Gold, a new film that will be coming to theaters July 31st. And there is a Packer connection. A farmer, played by Craig T. Nelson, bets the farm, literally, on the Packers. And Anders got a great cast for this film. He is also a native UP-ite. Is that how we say that? Anders
Uper?
Uper? Yeah, Uper is the way to go, I think. UP-ite is awkward and clunky.
Yeah.
Uper is familiar. Anders will be here at 7:30 over the stream. I can't wait to talk to him. He got Brandon Sklenar in this film. Brandon is in the show 1923. He plays kind of this badass Dutton. 1923 is a spinoff of Yellowstone. In my opinion, much better than Yellowstone. A really good show. Season 2 drops in February. And Brandon is one of the stars of that show. And he's kind of the coolest character on the show, in my opinion. But he's a real up-and-comer. And he is in Green and Gold, along with Craig T. Nelson. M. Emmett Walsh. I want to say this is M. Emmett Walsh's last movie before he passed away last year. Emmett Walsh is probably best known for slapping the rubber glove on and giving Fletch the exam of how do you say that? What's a tasteful
River?
What's a tasteful way to say anal cavity? But Emmett Walsh is in the film. Madison Lawler, Charlie Barons, I think, has a cameo. It looks like a great film, a serious Packer connection, and Anders is a director that is on the rise. I don't know if this is his first feature film. We'll ask him about that. He's got other credits, but I know he's done some commercial work. And this film has been very well received, though, and I'm very excited to see it. It hits theaters January 31st. So we'll talk to Anders at 7:20. A fun show. That leaves us, folks. I don't think we should mess around anymore. Let's get to the question of the night.
Let's talk about the question.
Okay, question.
Question. Question.
Pregunta.
Question.
Question.
Okay, I have a question. Questions? This question.
Domanda.
Question.
Question.
Questions.
What is the worst name for a band? The worst name ever that you've heard. I'll go first. They had a couple tunes I really liked in the 90s, but Toad the Wet Sprocket.
What?
That's the name of the band, Toad the Wet Sprocket. And I don't know where it came from. I actually meant to Google it earlier. But they had a great song called All I Want in the 90s. It's such a bad name.
I wonder how they got that.
Wet Sprocket would have been better. Toad would have been better. Toad Sprocket. But Toad the Wet Sprocket. Hard to say, too long, terrible name. No offense to Toad the Wet Sprocket. I know they're big listeners of the show. But what do you think? There's some terrible band names out there. Conrad, do you have one?
I have one that's not real, but it's hilarious because it was in my favorite show, How I Met Your Mother.
Are you biased then because of that, or
maybe? But it is a terrible name, and the guy who says it doesn't realize that it's bad. So this
he
episode,
doesn't, realize what it means.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in this episode, Simon, he's an ex-boyfriend of Robin, and he wants to get back together. And they're all of them are around the table, and he's in a band. So they ask, "Oh, what's your band name?" He goes, "The Foreskins." And then they look at each other, and they're like, "How'd you get that name?" He gives them a look like, "Okay, these guys are stupid." He goes, "Well, there's 4 of us, and we don't wear shirts."
I laugh maybe more at that. I laugh at guys that are clueless and don't know that they said something that is related to penis somehow. It just makes me laugh when people are that clueless. That's a good one. That's actually not a terrible band name because it's like a lot of band names are kind of sexual or have to do with love or sex or whatever. I Googled terrible band names. And I don't understand, like, the criteria. They have Goo Goo Dolls. Not great. Creedence Clearwater Revival. I don't hate that. Def Leppard. That's not a bad. Maybe not great, but they've had hits. So I guess you don't care. You don't really question the name when they've had success. Green Day. I actually like that band name. Nickelback. I don't know what that means, but there's nothing wrong with that name. There's one band name that comes up in the Google search, Anal Vomit.
Yeah.
Do you just want people to hate your songs?
I don't know where they'd get that from.
I have an idea. Bowling for Soup. Okay. There's like some band names probably are just thought of and they think, well, we'll think of something else later. And then they have a hit and it's like, oh, we can't change our terrible band name. Creed. I like that name too. Dogs Die in Hot Cars. These are the Google results that come up. Chumbawamba, awful. Limp Bizkit. That's probably some kind of sexual thing I'm not aware of. But there's a lot of bad band names out there.
Hootie and the Blowfish?
Hootie and the Blowfish. Kind of weird.
Oh, yeah. Where did the Blowfish come from?
Well, Blowfish is a thing.
I
Hootie's a guy who likes to surround himself with blowfish. Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's a great one.
Yeah, how is that one bad?
I don't know. The Square Roots?
The Sex Pistols?
Sex Pistols. That's obviously, I mean, come on. Use your imagination, right? Mookie Blaylock. Here's a question for you. Do you know what band originally was named Mookie Blaylock?
No.
Pearl Jam.
Oh, really?
They were a fan of the basketball player Mookie Blaylock, and they settled on Pearl Jam, which is another, also a sexual thing. So there you go. Rock and roll bands are rooted in kind of risque terminology, but some of the names work. Radiohead, great name.
Here's another basketball player that could work as a name.
Yeah.
Spud Webb.
Spud Webb.
That's it. That would be a cool band name.
How about Giannis Antetokounmpo? If you
I don't think they'd get to the point there at every.
There's a lot of. Okay, so let us know what is your least favorite band name? What's the worst band name? 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Let us know. You can text us on the app, the Civic Media app, if you haven't downloaded it, folks. What are you waiting for? So easy to use. There's just a little icon there. You hit it and text us and get a hold of us one way or the other, but just get a hold of us. We love when you precipitate in the show. I said that on purpose, by the way. That wasn't like my British. I'm still having trouble saying
You're having
British.
word soup today, you know.
British. There we go. All right, I can go to break knowing I said the word properly. Really fun show tonight. Green and Gold director Anders Lindwall will be here. Author Jody Hinman. 2 UP-based wonderful human beings. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Turn out to hear the neighborhood drummer sound and feel my heart begin to pound. So you're tired, just wanna close your eyes, follow your dream down. But we made a promise, we swore we'd always remember. No retreat.
You're listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW, home for the Todd Albaugh Show.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. In the first week of the new session of the Wisconsin State Legislature, Republicans fast-tracked a measure that would put a question on the ballot in the upcoming spring election that would enshrine voter ID in the state constitution. Two things on this. First, it is telling that Republicans made this their very first order of business. Senate Democratic leader Dianne Hesselbein responded to this saying it's not cost of living or health care or gun violence that Republicans wanted to focus on, but a constitutional amendment. Telling, isn't it? But that leads to the second piece. Republicans are clearly doing this for politically motivated reasons. By having this on the spring election ballot, they're betting it will make it more likely that people who showed up to vote for Donald Trump in November will be heading to the polls to help elect right-wing candidate Brad Schimmel to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. That election is on April 1st, so buckle up. Find all of
Welcome back. We were talking about fasting last night, and I got a message from Todd Michaels, the producer of Mino and the Mayor, who said he's been fasting. And that was a really fun segment with Sherry Stoka, who told us the benefits and the not-so-great benefits of fasting, and I am a proponent of it. I think it's great. And I had no idea Todd was doing it. He said it's been good for him, too. I guess it's different for everybody, but that was a fun discussion. What's the longest you think you could go without eating food?
Oh, I mean, I've done some fasts before in college, actually, but I don't know.
What was the occasion? Were you just trying to drop weight?
I think the longest I went was like 12 or 13 hours.
It's not that long.
No.
I don't even know if that's
I don't think I was like, I don't know if I need to risk anything with doing a full 24 hour, you know?
That is such an American. I can't go 14 hours without food. I'll die. But
I was worried I was going to like pass out or something. You know what I mean?
No, I was scared. The first time I did it, I was like, how is this going to affect me? What if I like faint or what if the first time I did it, I did like a 36-hour fast and it felt just because of the sense memory of food and taking in food on a regular basis, I felt hunger pangs. But once you do it, it's not that hard.
How much water did you drink?
Probably 60 to 70 ounces for the day. Some people go crazy with water. I don't. I feel like, every time there's a craze and something comes out, 6 months later, 2 years later, whatever, like, oh, wait, actually, we're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to drink 4,000 gallons of water a day because it taxes the kidneys. So I try to get enough water. I try to, on a typical day, drink about 50 to 60 ounces, which I think is less than they say you should drink, but is enough,
Yeah. I mean, they say that if you drink enough water like you shouldn't be getting those cravings.
Right. And fasting's not that tough either because you can drink coffee, tea, water. I mean, and if you stay busy, it's not bad. The minute you feel yourself start to get hungry, you just get up and get moving. It really does help. Our question tonight is, what is the worst band name? For me, Toad the Wet Sprocket. I don't even know what it means. It just bothers me. And it's always bothered me since the 90s, even though I liked a couple of their tunes. They're a good band. That's a bad name. Conrad, I almost said Conrad likes the Foreskins, but that was your least favorite band name. That would have come out all wrong.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad name for
that's a pretty bad name
for a band.
Jameson from the 814. We haven't heard from Jameson for a while. Good to have you back, Jameson. He says, it's not the best name, but Toad is great. I've seen them live many times, and they opened for my favorite band, Guster, this year. That's crazy. So they're still touring. He says, worst band name, Hoobastank, as well as the Cherry Poppin' Daddies. I don't know what Cherry Poppin' Daddies really flows and it's cool, but the it sounds bad. So I'll put that on the list. That's an old band, though, I think. Hoobastank, though, man, that's awful. Those are great ones, Jameson. Toad the Wet Sprocket, still out there, still gigging. Monica in Mount Horeb says, hole always gave me a gross visual. Mott the Hoople always seemed odd to me. Just looked it up. It was the name of a book. Okay. That's a good one. Anna from Madison says, hi, Pete and Conrad. The worst band name is Kajagoogoo, an English pop band from 1983. I remember them, Anna, and they sang the song Too Shy. And I actually liked that song. But yeah, Kajagoogoo. Again, I think these people, they get together, they have a couple jam sessions, and they're like, hey, wouldn't it be goofy if we named our band this? And then it ends up sticking. No pun intended for the Goo-Goo. But, yeah, those are good, too. Thank you, Anna. Steady Eddie, a little early tonight. Steady Eddie must have set his alarm for the show. He says, no worries, Pete. I've always believed that any man or woman who can only spell or pronounce a word in one way lacks imagination, skill, and creativity. I think of you, Pete, as the Picasso of wordsmithing. Oh, man. Well, thank you, Steady Eddie. Even though I can't say British. Steady Eddie continues saying, for lack of creativity for a band name, how about The Band? Yes. Not much thought went into that. The Band. Conrad's mom checking in says, I don't like names that you can't pronounce. Like when Prince changed his name to a symbol. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, that one makes no sense whatsoever. What do you do with that, too? It's just like, that's just someone getting famous enough where they can say, I can do whatever I want. I can change my name to something that makes no sense and make my fans' lives miserable. I love Prince, but yeah, I totally agree. Steve from Florida, he's in the 920, says, Grandma Krieger says, worst band name in history, the Rolling Stones. Just joking. Oh, I was about to have words with your dad.
Yeah.
Conrad. That would have been weird. Good joke, though. He says, worst band name, the Butthole Surfers. Punk rock group from the early 80s. Yeah.
Can't say I heard of them.
Oh, really? I remember them in college. Yeah, the Butthole Surfers. That's just, but that, you know, when people form bands, they're young and stupid, have some musical talent, you combine those two, you're going to get band names like the Butthole Surfers. So there you go. Keep those texts coming, folks. What is the worst band name? I say Toad the Wet Sprocket. Conrad says the Foreskins. Steve says the Rolling Stones, but he's just kidding. But let us know what you think. Always more fun when you guys participate and join LIte. What is the worst band name ever? Have you been following the Tom Brady stuff? His announcing foils?
I mean, not. I didn't go into it after yesterday when we talked about it, to be honest.
I bring it up again because I just submitted an article. It'll be on civicmedia.us. Part of the fun for me is the comments. When people go crazy, they get irate that Tom Brady is messing up. Like they expect more out of an ex-jock. I don't get it. And some of these, one of the comments they said, the guy says, proud sports fan here. What are you proud of?
Proud sports fan.
Doesn't take anything to be a sports fan. I'm a proud get dresser every day. I get dressed every day. Doesn't make any sense. All right. We have a fun show tonight, if you haven't already guessed. If the listening so far hasn't indicated that this is going to be a killer show, you're in for a treat. Jody Himman joins me next after Civic Media. Pardon me. Award-winning news team keeps you informed. Jody will be here talking about her book, a new book. She is a first-time published author, which is exciting. The Hole They Dug for You will be. And then Anders Lindwall will be here at 7:20 talking about his new film, Green and Gold, which opens January 31st. This is Pete Schwaba and LIte on the Civic Media Radio Network.
GBW, home for Matinee on Air.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. Governor Tony Evers says he's working to reform gun laws in Wisconsin, and he'll face resistance from Republicans. Madison Bureau Chief Savannah Tomei Olson explains.
The governor says he'll be looking at things like red flag laws, expanding background checks, and gun storage laws. In 2019, Evers called lawmakers to a special session to address gun violence. Republican leaders famously called the legislature into session and immediately adjourned, gaveling in and gaveling out, something they've done multiple times since. Now, since Evers took office, state Democrats have proposed at least 30 bills they say would make Wisconsin safer. But none of them have passed because Republicans haven't supported them and they have control of the legislature. Evers signed an executive order creating the Office of Violence Prevention, surrounded by advocates and leaders. Here's the big question. Can he get Republicans on board?
Just weeks after a school shooting took the lives of a student and an educator who never returned home, common sense gun safety reform and reducing crime and gun violence must finally be a shared priority that transcends politics and partisanship. Reducing crime and violence should be an issue that receives earnest bipartisan support this session.
To create this new Office of Violence Prevention, Evers used $10 million from leftover federal funding to get it started. But going forward, it'll need money allocated in the state budget to keep it going, and that is up to the legislature. For Civic Media News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson.
Meanwhile, Culver's announced yesterday that its fundraising efforts for Abundant Life Christian School totaled $165,000. 80 locations participated in the fundraiser on January 6th following the deadly shooting in December. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Doors lead singer Jim Morrison was found dead in a bathtub in 1971. Some believe he faked his own death. A new docuseries, Before the End, Searching for Jim Morrison, takes a closer look at the rock star who was only 27 when he fled to Paris, supposedly to get away from fame. Director Jeff Finn features Morrison's brother Andy and his sister Ann, as well as archival footage as he dives deep into the singer's life and death. The 3-episode documentary can be streamed on Apple TV for $7.99. Stop the presses. Robert De Niro will be playing a gangster in a new mob film. If that's not fun enough, De Niro's rival gangster in said mob film will be played by Robert De Niro. The film Alto Nights will tell the story of a 1950s dispute between legendary New York gangsters Frank Costello and Vito Genovese, who were once best friends but became adversaries. The film will be directed by Barry Levinson. How great would it be if De Niro received an Oscar and a Razzie for the same movie? For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. A patch or two of freezing drizzle or flurries possible this evening, otherwise mostly cloudy tonight and rising temps through the 20s. Warmer tomorrow, more clouds, a high in the mid-30s. Upper 30s Friday. For the weekend, much colder temperatures and a bitter breeze. Currently 21 degrees.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
Civic Media, Wisconsin's source for real news and great conversation, offers podcasts of all of our daily shows online and on demand. Simply go to civicmedia.us, click on daily shows, and choose the podcast that you want to download. Shows are updated daily, or you can save them and listen all at once. Our podcasts are sponsored by UW Organ and Tissue Donation. You are an organ donor, right? Talk to your family. Get the dot. Save lives. Learn more at heroicdeed.com.
Jane Matnair and Greg Bach.
Coming up on the show, Governor Evers announcing a new Office of Violence Prevention.
Get up home. I want to drive them home. When you're feeling blue, I'm thinking just of you.
Cherry Poppin' Daddies. Okay. Karen from the 920 says, wow, Cherry Poppin' Daddies has a whole new meaning, and now that I'm an adult, I can only imagine what my mother thought when I was listening to them as a child. And it's so funny when you're young, you always think your parents don't know anything about like rock and roll or sex or whatever. So you always feel like you're putting one over on them. I'm sure they knew. Drake from Green Bay, that's the 920. He says, when I sell a vacuum, people ask me how often to change the bag. I say the vacuum bag should not be NFL regulation full. It should be Tom Brady full. Think about that, Conrad. He's a cheater.
I think that's a great comparison.
I forgot he was a cheater. I didn't even.
Yeah, he jokes about it. Like,
because he can do that because
Yeah.
he's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He's making $375 million over 10 years to go. That was a good pass. Drake from Green Bay says everyone understands. They get the Tom Brady thing. That's right. Text us at 855-752-4842. You can let us know whatever you're thinking about the show. It's great when you guys contribute, or let us know your least favorite band name. We've had some good answers so far. You can let us know on the stream. Conrad, how can people watch the radio?
Yeah, so on Facebook, we're under WISS, Nightlight with Pete Schwaba, and WGBW. On YouTube, WGBW or Civic Media, and on Twitter, Civic Media or WGBW.
That's good. Get a hold of us. Just do it. However you do it. Send us a letter in the mail. Catch up on your correspondence. This is exciting, folks. I have a guest that I'm very excited to have in the studio. I've known her for 9 years now. 9 years. But not as an author.
That's correct.
I met you. You were an actress at the time, and we were both in the same movie, and we've stayed in touch, and now you have your first book. Her name is Jody Hinman, and she wrote a book called The Hole They Dug for You. I keep wanting to say The Hole I Dug for You.
Yeah, a lot of people.
That's creepy.
I know.
What's a creepy title?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It
So
is.
how are you doing, first of all? You drove all the way from the UP to be here in Green Bay. That's exciting.
Yes, I really wanted to have the in-studio experience.
Yeah. Well, I
So,
appreciate that.
Yeah, it's more fun this way.
More fun, exactly.
Yeah.
Is this a trip to the big city for you? You live in the UP.
No.
No, okay.
I lived in the Detroit area for almost 20 years, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you've been around a bit.
I've been around a bit.
Yeah. But the UP is nice. It's peaceful up there. It's serene, would you say?
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying living there.
Okay.
My husband is actually from there, and I have family roots there as well.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. My grandfather was born and raised in Crystal Falls.
Where's Crystal Falls?
So that would be, it's more towards central.
Central UP?
Central UP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you in the Iron Mountain area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a beautiful area.
It is.
Yeah. So we'll talk more about the UP. But first, let's get this out of the way. Full disclaimer, I met you on the set of Aquarians, a film that my friend Mike McGuire. Conrad, I still can't talk tonight.
Yeah, it's bad.
You're here on a really bad night, Jody. Just letting you know. Mike McGuire made a film called Aquarians in Marinette. And I shot a film there a couple decades ago called The Godfather of Green Bay. I thought, I'll never act in another movie in Marinette, Wisconsin again. Well, lo and behold, here comes Mike, who's a native, and he shot his film there. So it was really fun to be part of that as well. And that's where I met you. You played my wife in the movie. Do you remember your name?
I do. Mrs. Marks.
Mrs. Marks.
Jean.
Did they not give you? Okay, they did give you a first name.
Jean.
I was Tom Marks, a former high school teacher to the boys, and you played my wife. We got to do a church scene together, which was fun. Yeah. We had some marital issues in our short time together, even though it was a fictitious marriage. We had some issues.
You were kind of gruff.
Was I gruff? Was I inattentive? But anyway, that was fun. So that's how we met. We kept in touch. With the occasional, how's it going? What are you working on? I know you were trying to write back then too. And what I'm so excited about, Jody, is that I meet so many people that say, I'm working on something. I have an idea. Everybody has those, right? And those are great to have, but you just followed it through. And now you are a published author. And I think that is so cool. So congratulations for that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. So with that in mind, tell us about the book, The Hole They Dug for You. It sounds creepy. I'm guessing it's a mystery.
It is. It's not as creepy as the title would
Suggest?
indicate. Yes.
Okay.
The story is about an artist, Ellie Bauer, and the story picks up about a year after her husband has died unexpectedly from a heart attack. And when the story picks up in the beginning, she's just now coming out from underneath the dark cloud she's been living under since the loss of her husband. And she's out in the woods. She's looking for her dog who had run off. And she comes across a group of nefarious men.
Okay.
And they're up to no good.
As nefarious men often are.
They are up to no good. And they are exacting revenge on someone. And Ellie actually comes to his rescue, and the story is about what happens after that.
Okay.
She gets herself in a really dangerous pickle, and you see what develops and how she gets out of it, if she gets out
If
of
she
it.
gets out. Yeah,
That's
don't
right.
give away, no spoilers.
Yeah, right.
Tell us about Ellie Bauer, your main character.
Ellie is, as I said, she's an artist, and she is a very lovely woman. Salt of the earth, as good as they come. She thinks of other people before herself.
Okay.
And does for others. But she's had a very rough upbringing. She comes from an abusive family situation. So she's out of this, and she's kind of leading a sheltered life for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a while.
Until she sees something she shouldn't see.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Is
right.
Ellie based on anybody?
No, she is not.
I noticed
She's
the first line when I was reading it said she lives on a 40-acre spread in the UP. I was like, oh, this is Jody. I don't know how many acres you own or what, but there's a little bit of all of us in the characters we write, I think. Who is Ellie based on, if anybody?
Ellie is based on no one.
Okay.
There may be, she's a little bit of a spitfire sometimes, which I've been told once or twice that might apply to me. But I grew up with 3 brothers, so you know how it goes. You have to be a little bit tough.
Yeah,
sometimes.
exactly. Spitfire's good. That's not a terrible thing to be called, I think.
It runs in the family.
Yeah, the family full of Spitfires.
Yeah, the females, we're all we're nice until you cross us, I guess.
Yeah, good to know. So let me ask you this. When you're writing a character, and like I just made that assumption that, oh, this is Jody because she's in the UP and she lives in a serene setting. This is Jody's life. Do you worry about people thinking it's you? Like you just said, Ellie has abuse in her background. I know when I write characters, I'm like, oh, are people going to think this is me? But we pull bits from every character. But do you ever feel like you're kind of putting yourself too much out there when you write characters?
Sometimes, but I think we, when we write stories, we pull from maybe a little bit from ourselves, but from other people we know,
right?
Different experiences we've had. So she's really based on no one in particular.
Okay. Full disclaimer. Where did you get the idea for the book?
Well, the idea, as you had brought up, we had worked on that movie Aquarians.
Yeah.
And I worked on 2 film projects that year. The first was that movie in January of 16. And then in December of 16, I worked on the Northbound series, season 2. So by the time spring rolled around, I had all this creative energy and no outlet for it. And like you were saying, usually there are opportunities where we live, in the UP especially. So I thought, well, what am I going to do now? I've got nothing. And I had all this creative energy. And the story just came to me one day. And I saw it kind of like a movie in my mind. But I didn't know what to do with that.
Right.
Because I'm not a movie maker. I'm not an author at the time.
Right.
And so what do I do with this? So I spent about a year thinking about it off and on. And the story never really left my mind. So I thought, I've either got to do something with this or just abandon it altogether because it's swirling around in my brain off and on and going nowhere until I actually either do something or just let it go.
Yeah. So what do you do? What's your process then? You have this idea. You've never written a book before. Do you have people you bounce it off of? Do you have people you run your idea by first? And who are those people? Are they actual writers? Are they just family members?
Okay, so in my case, I had what I call beta readers. So I had 3 people who I had read the manuscript because they're people I know and trust who would give it to me straight.
Yeah. Which are hard to find.
It's hard to find. But the reason for that is you want to know, are you on the right track with the story? Is it appealing to the people who like that certain genre that you're writing for? And that feedback is really important. And you have to really trust the people you're passing your manuscript off to, because it's like handing your baby off to a stranger. It really is. And you're really opening yourself up to that, to being criticized. But you need that. You need, whether it's good or bad, you need to hear it.
You can't move forward without it, really, right?
Yes, exactly. Because you kind of get at a stalemate, and you're like, is anybody going to like this?
Right.
I don't know. So the feedback is good.
Yeah.
And then you can move on once you have that.
My guest is Jody Hinman. She's the author of The Hole They Dug for You. What genre? I keep calling it a mystery. Is it a mystery? Is it a suspense or just a drama?
Suspense.
Okay.
A little bit of a thriller, mystery, all rolled up into one. Yeah.
Okay. Where can people find it, Jody?
People can find this at Amazon.
Amazon. Okay.
Yes.
And you're getting this is exciting. We just pulled this up. You're getting a 4.9 stars on Amazon. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I think you'll take that.
I'll take it.
And on the other one,
yes.
the other site, you were getting a 4 out of 5. And I thought that was very telling, because you have 2 5-star, 2 4-star, 2 3-star.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like people that know you are going to, or any writer for that matter, they're going to give you 5 stars unless they secretly don't like you. So the fact that a couple of people gave you 3 stars, that tells me it's an honest assessment. So 4 out of 5 stars in your first book, I don't think that's too bad, right?
I'll take it.
All right. So talk me through how long did this take to write?
Wow. Well, I'd say the first draft went pretty quick. Once I wrote the first chapter and then just kind of left it alone for months and months. And then once I picked it up, the first draft went rather quickly, but it was basic. It really needed more to it. So I would put it away for a while and come back to it, enhance it some more, and just make things better.
Yeah.
Each time I edited.
Sure. So like the first time you sat down to when you actually submitted it, what kind of time period are we talking about there?
Well, I think I first submitted it in 20. It was a while
2020.
ago.
Okay.
2020. And I submitted it to a literary agent, and they didn't pick it up. And that's normal. It was rather rough. So in hindsight, that was perfect, because it needed more work, for sure. And then COVID came around, and I was ready. I felt I was ready to submit it, but literary agents were just like not open to any submissions at all. So then, like, well, now what do I do? And then I decided to self-publish.
Okay.
I decided I'm just going to go that route because I have more control over the situation.
Right.
So.
All right. That's pretty good. That's fast turnaround too, I would say, for a book. It sounds like if you submitted it in 2020, it took you like 2 years or less.
Well, I started writing it in 18. So
that's what I mean. That's impressive.
It is a process.
Okay. Jody Hinman is here. Author Jody Hinman. She wrote the book, The Hole They Dug for You, which you can find on Amazon. We'll talk more to Jody about her process and about her book. And then I want to find out more about the UP and what you're watching on TV. Are you ready for that? Okay. Jody Hinman is here. This is Peach Schwaba Nightlight. Anders Lindwall is here at 7:20 talking about his film Green and Gold, which he directed and co-wrote. That'll be fun as well. It's all about storytelling tonight and all about the UP. This is Peach Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
The talk of Green Bay, WGBW.
Are you ever questioning when life will slow down? Are you ever thinking of just relaxing and enjoying the simple things? All of this is possible, even while still being in the workforce. Worthington, Minnesota is a town growing, yet it's nothing like metro life. Professional and labor jobs, a beautiful lake, bike trails, recreation, acres of public hunting, festivals, and great people. Slow down. We're just a short drive away, so come join us. Worthington, it's worth a look.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. Our recent reporting explored the massive contributions to Donald Trump's inaugural fund, reportedly reaching $170 million. What are the rules as to how that money is spent? The short answer is there aren't any. The Federal Election Commission allows private donations to support inaugural activities. This year, that's a parade, a rally, 2 luncheons, a tea, 3 dinners, 3 inaugural balls, and fireworks at Trump's Sterling Golf Club. The FEC requires reporting of donations over $200, but sets no limits or dictates how it's used. Let's say that the Trump inauguration has 12 events, and they cost an astronomical $2 million each, a whopping $24 million. That leaves $146 million left. When the inauguration is over, will we know how the leftover money will be used? We won't. While a Trump campaign source told the New York Times some would be used for Trump's presidential library, there are no rules dictating how that money is used. The Inaugural Fund Integrity Act is expected to be reintroduced in Congress in January, which would set a limit of $50,000, require immediate disclosure of contributions over $1,000, and ban corporate and super PAC donations. That's a start, but the legislation still doesn't require disclosure of how
says Uriah Heep is an old school band name. It is. But do you think it's a bad band name, Jim? I do remember Uriah Heep. I don't know. How was that come up with? Like, how did people come up with that? Bridget, she's in the 818, says Limp Bizkit. Very, very strange. And then Bridget continues, TMI, too much information. I mean, most of these suggestions tonight involve male genitalia. It's not
all sex-related names.
Pretty bizarre. Like. Except yours did too.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Toad the Wet Sprocket. Mine is the most innocent, although that probably has something.
Yeah, what does wet sprocket mean?
I don't know. You want to Google it?
I don't know if I do.
You think their FBI is going to open a file on you or something?
I don't know.
All right. Anders Lindwall, director of Green and Gold, will be here at 7:20 talking about his new film that opens January 31st. There is a Packer connection, folks. So, and it looks like just a really fun film, heartwarming, poignant, very anxious to see how the film plays because there are so many movies that are set in Wisconsin. And I guess, it's a toss-up. Some do well, some don't. But I think Wisconsin is very relatable, typically. I think we're sort of like, we're the kind of the fabric of America, if you will. Would you say that's accurate, Jody?
I would agree with that.
You're the UP. That could be Wisconsin, really.
People are kind and they're fun.
Yeah. I agree with you. All right. That is the voice of Jody Hinman. She's the author of The Hole They Dug for You, a new book that you can purchase on Amazon, set in the UP, where Jody is from. And it's reviewing well on Amazon. She's self-published, which seems to be the route a lot of people are taking these days. Yes. And I've had self-published authors on this show at times. And, I've read part of their books and I've gone, I wouldn't be reading this if people didn't I think it's just such a great option that we have that now, right?
Oh, it's a wonderful option.
Yeah.
And you have so much more control of your
right.
product, what you're producing.
Yeah. You could just write anything and publish it, right?
Well,
are there people that
you could? I mean, but it is a process. It is professionally done. Don't get me wrong. You don't just slap it out there. You get a professional editor and and all that. It's
right.
like an indie film.
Sure.
You're responsible from beginning to end, whether you do those tasks or not yourself.
Okay.
It remains to be seen, but you are responsible.
It's always so important, I think, too, to have an extra set of eyes or people that, as you said before, shoot you straight and really are honest with you. Because at the end of the day, criticism is hard to take, but you want people to read it and enjoy it. And you want to be able to write another book, and you want to have the motivation to do so, right?
Right. I would not want to put something out there that would embarrass myself,
Correct.
Right.
So we talked about how long it took you to write this. How long was the story inside you before you decided to put pen to paper, so to speak?
The story it took about a year for me to do something with it. Yes, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to write it as a book or if I wanted to write a movie manuscript. Screenplay, right. But I eventually decided on the book because I really liked Ellie and I really wanted to just dig in and deepen with my characters. And
you can be so much more detail-oriented, in a book, I think, than you can with a screenplay where you have to hit certain beats. All right, so if the audience will indulge me for a minute here, I just want to geek out on some writing talk. Talk me through your writing process. Do you write every day or when the mood catches you? Do you have a place in your house you like to go to write? Do you have coffee, tea? What do you do? Talk me through Jody's process.
Okay, so we did set up a room in our house. We call it the writing room.
Okay.
At first, I had this little itty-bitty table and my laptop, but we eventually put a desk in there and made it comfortable. And I write most mornings, and what I do is I'll write for several hours, and then I'll go work out or whatever, take a walk, and then the wheels start turning again about what I had just written. And then I come back and I maybe enhance what I've written.
Okay.
And
just tweak it and keep
just like making it better.
Such a process. So in the morning, you're fresh. I think most writers that I talk to anyway seem to be more fresh in the morning. They like to get up, get that coffee going. You're also right out of like REM sleep or dream world, and you can kind of translate creativity to the page. Do you find that?
Well, sometimes I will wake up with ideas and have to quickly write them down before I forget.
Sure.
So, yeah.
All right. And then do you have, does living in the UP spark any kind of creativity? I've interviewed a few other writers from there. There are filmmakers from the UP. And I have this kind of romantic vision of the UP. I live very close to the UP, right across the river, so I'm not that far away. But do places like that enhance creativity where you feel not Iron Mountain is a city, you're not out in the sticks, but does it enhance creativity in any way?
Well, sure it does. In the area that I live in, it reminds me of quite a bit. It's quite a bit like the area I grew up in.
Okay.
So when I started working on a few film projects, I got inspired, just like the fresh ideas. I don't know, like the area, it just sparked a lot of memories from where I grew up in the country.
Okay.
So it all just kind of blended together.
Connected.
I feel connected. And so when you're out for walks and looking at nature, sure, ideas come to you, and it's fun.
That's great. And what authors have influenced you, Jody, would you say?
Well, I try not to be influenced by other authors.
Sure.
But I am currently reading like Frida McFadden. She's great with twists and turns.
Okay.
That's a lot of fun.
All right. Hold that thought. We're going to do the news. We'll have a couple more minutes with Jody when we come back. I'm going to also ask you what you're watching on TV, which is what I ask everybody who comes on the show. So have something ready.
All right.
All right. Jody Himden is here. Anders Lindwall joins me at 7:20 to talk about his film Green and Gold, which opens January 31st. We'll be right back after Civic Media's award-winning news team keeps you informed. This is Pete Schwaba and Nite on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Bay, WGBW, home of Mino and the Mayor.
Todd Albaugh.
Hey, everybody, join us next time for a special edition. Jeff Wright, candidate for Wisconsin Superintendent of Public Instructions, will be here live. We'll spend a half an hour getting to know him and why he wants the job. Join us.
The Todd Albaugh Show, weekdays noon till 2. The Maggie Dawn Show.
Here's what the WSJ had said after J6. This week has probably finished Donald Trump as a serious political figure. Boy, that hasn't aged well, has it?
No, not at all. In the Wall Street Journal. So after what they just said 4 years ago, Maggie, they couldn't bring it upon themselves to say that guy who did that shouldn't be anywhere near the White House again. Nope, couldn't do it.
The Maggie Dawn Show. Weekdays from 2 till 4 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media app. Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app. This is 97.9 WGBW Denmark, Green Bay's real news and great conversation, a Civic Media radio station.
ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. 15 months after the Hamas sneak attack, Israel and the terror outfit reached tentative three-phase ceasefire hostage release deal. The first phase is to begin on Sunday. President-elect Trump had a hand in it.
Obesity would no longer be defined.
Remarkably, Biden White House sources acknowledged this deal was in part brokered by an envoy of the incoming administration, as well as the staff of the current one. President-elect Trump says the deal, quote, could have only happened as a result of his victory. He adds in a post, this is only the beginning of great things to come for America and indeed the world.
ABC Stephen Portnoy. This continues to happen. Alexander Justin White of Durham, North Carolina, a U.S. citizen, busted December 4th trying to hop a flight to Morocco with the intent of joining Islamic State. With Ukraine's Zelensky at his side, Polish Prime Minister accused Russia of planning acts of sabotage worldwide. This is ABC News.
Hi, I'm Michael Friedman, CEO of Simple Life Hospitality. Let us take the hassle out of vacation rental property management. We'll maximize your earnings and handle every detail from cleaning to maintenance and repairs. For guests, enjoy a stay that feels like home with hand-selected properties, personal touches like local recommendations, and extras like concierge service that will make your trip unforgettable. Whether you're a homeowner or a traveler, experience the Simple Life. Visit simpleliferentals.com.
Let's get back to live music in the lair with Kaylin Cole. The next song you have for us tonight is called 1103.
Yes.
Is that a time or a flight number?
Oh, that's actually really good. That's a good idea. I think I might have to write another song with that. You'll get 50%.
It's live in the lair. Grab the podcast now at maxincradio.com and listen live on Saturday nights, 6 to midnight across the Civic Media Radio Network.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. The case documented in the Netflix series Making a Murderer will not get another hearing. The state appeals court said Stephen Avery's appeal argument that there is an alternate suspect responsible for the murder of Teresa Halbach does not have sufficient facts to open an appeal. Avery, along with his nephew Brendan Dassey, are serving life sentences for the 2005 murder of Halbach. Avery has attempted to appeal his conviction and get a new trial multiple times. This latest ruling can be appealed to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. If it's not appealed, the next action in the case could include a motion asking for scientific testing related to evidence found on Halbach's vehicle. That motion has been on hold pending the appeals court ruling. Brendan Dassey will be able to ask for parole in 2048. Dassey appealed his conviction to the United States Supreme Court. The justices declined to hear his case. Dr. Kevin Spencer is a magician and an illusionist. He's also considered an authority on the educational and therapeutic benefits of magic tricks in education and rehabilitation, which is why when he brings his magic to the Grand...
Greg Gard gets number 200. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Men's college basketball. Wisconsin held on at the Kohl Center to win 70-68 over The Ohio State. Badgers head coach Greg Gard with his 200th career win.
As I told the team downstairs, I mean, it's a lot of hard work by a lot of people put me in this position, and a lot of people that should go on that 200.
In Chicago, number 7th ranked Marquette beat DePaul in overtime 85-83. NBA, the Bucks took over early and beat the Kings 130-115, ending Sacramento's 7-game winning streak. NFL with the loss of Christian Watson to a torn ACL. Jets wide receiver Davante Adams on what he thinks the Packers should do next.
It's looking right now like obviously they might need some receiver help in one way or the other just based off of what they have available. And you know, maybe a veteran or something in there. I don't know. We'll see.
That's former Packer Davante Adams with Sports. I'm Mike Clemens.
I'm I'm Lisa Hale with WGBW News. Your news in depth. Find it in the news section at WGBW.FM.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. A patch or two of freezing drizzle or flurries possible this evening, otherwise mostly cloudy tonight and rising temps through the 20s. Warmer tomorrow, more clouds, a high in the mid-30s. Upper 30s Friday. For the weekend, much colder temperatures and a bitter breeze. Right now it's 22.
The Dom Salvia Show.
Brad Schimmel, a J6 sympathizer, and he wants to be your next Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice. When he was Attorney General of Wisconsin, he spent thousands of dollars on memorial coins.
I would have been fired.
That stood
if I'd
for
done that.
kicking ass every day. Hey, if you got to get a coin that says it, you're probably not
With
doing
your
it.
face on it.
The Dom Salvia Show. Weekdays from 4 till 6 on the Civic Media Radio Network and on the Civic Media app.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Hey folks, Jimmy K here from Max Inc. Radio. Join me this weekend as I welcome Isaiah and the New People. Plus Terry chats with jazz musician Janet Plant. It's Max Inc.
Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is LIte with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood. And now, a guy who considers a silver medal a participation award, Pete Schwaba.
Welcome back. This is hour number 2 of LIte on this Wednesday edition, broadcasting statewide from beautiful downtown Green Bay at City Deck Landing. Great to have you with me tonight, ladies and gentlemen. On the text line, our question tonight is, what is the worst band name? And the 608, this is Nick from Marshall, says, I've never even heard of this. Oswald and Israel Vibration. That's a new one. Have you heard of them, Conrad?
Never.
He could be making that up.
he definitely could.
But a guy with a name like Nick from Marshall, I'm going to trust him. He's got a good, solid name. Thank you, Nick. Keep those suggestions coming. Jody, you had a name, too, you thought was kind of bad. Corn, yeah.
Yeah.
But was spelled with a K.
With a K. Yeah. I don't know
what
the
that means
origin
either.
of that name.
Yeah, again, I
should
think
look it
not a lot of thought sometimes goes into these band names. So, but keep those suggestions coming, folks. 855-752-4842. You can let us know on the old-fashioned text line. Or you can text us on the stream or let us know over the app. Conrad did research. Toad the Wet Sprocket is not a sexual band name. It takes its name from a Monty Python comedy sketch called Rock Notes, in which a journalist delivers a nonsensical music news report. Sounds like Monty Python. Rex Stardust led Electric Triangle with Toad the Wet Sprocket has had to have an elbow removed following their recent successful worldwide tour of Finland. Was that taken verbatim?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know what to make of that.
You just know it's not sexual now.
It's not sexual, but it's not even... I can't even make sense of that. All right. Folks, Anders Lindwall will be... I can't... You know what the problem is? Here's my issue tonight. So I'm leaving the house. I'm trying to eat right, especially after Sherry was here last night. But I also don't like to let food go to waste. So I tend to clean out the fridge. I'll try to make soup or I'll do something, whatever. And there was a piece of pecan-crusted chicken in the fridge. I thought for a couple days. I eat it. I put an avocado on top of it. My daughter gets home, and I said, hey, I hope you weren't saving that chicken. It was in there a couple days, and I didn't want it to go to waste. She goes, Dad, that's been in there for 3 weeks.
Oh, no.
So I don't know if I'm going to have to make a quick exit. You might have to do the Anders interview. So get some questions ready. I'm glad I'm making it through most of your interview. I feel fine, but I think it's affected my ability to talk tonight.
I think that's what happened.
Which is not that important in radio. Okay. Jody Hinman, author Jody Hinman is here. This is exciting to have you here. Congrats again on the book. We got a couple more minutes with Jody. You've done some acting too. You were in the film we talked about called Aquarians, and then you were in an episodic shot in the UP called Northbound, which is kind of cool. I had those guys on. Thank you for the contact. They were great guests. What else is going on in the UP? It's a lot of creative people come from the UP. Is there any other production going on up there? Are you friends with other authors? Do you have like a network of creative people?
Well, I'm not friends with other authors, although there are other authors.
Yeah.
But there's Mr. Black Presents, a group of theater people in our area.
Okay.
They put on dinner shows and
Nice.
It's all theatrical, and they perform at the local theater as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've done some acting, and now you have a book out there. What do you prefer? What's your favorite way to be creative so far?
Oh, wow. I have fun with it all. I just I love the writing. That's been a really awesome experience for me. And to see that come to fruition has been wonderful. But the acting, what's fun about the acting is, being on set. With the indie projects, I spend a lot of time on set and just watching the process, how all the pieces and parts come together. It's
fascinating.
Super fascinating to me. I love watching all that.
I agree. And I think to me, it's the energy on a set like that, whether it's an indie film or a bigger film. It's just a great thing to experience. You, all right, so maybe you'll get your book optioned into a movie and you can write the screenplay. That'd be kind of cool.
I would love that because we definitely have the setting for it.
Yeah, you do.
We do.
All right, before we let you go, Jody, and thank you again for your time, what are you watching on TV?
We recently binge watched American Primeval.
What's that? I
It's
don't
on
know
Netflix.
that show.
It's a Western. It's, I think maybe 6 or 8 episodes.
A newer show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's just been released.
a
Wow.
Western.
Talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the
Okay.
West. Yeah. It's pretty
Nice.
good. Yeah.
Very good. You're awesome. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for driving all the way.
You bet.
It's not actually that far, is it?
No, not really.
It's a trip to the city.
That's right.
Green Bay's a city. It's a big city for people like us.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. This has been great.
You're
I
welcome.
Really appreciate it.
Good luck with the book. Check it out, folks, on Amazon. It's called The Hole They Dug for You, and it's by Jody Hinman. And check it out and become that's what I want to do. I need to read more.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
yeah, you approve?
I approve.
Okay. Jody Hinman, ladies and gentlemen, drive safely. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
And good luck with the book. Okay. Anders Lindwall will be here in just a few minutes. And before we bring Anders onto the show to talk about his movie Green and Gold, we're going to give you a sneak peek at the trailer.
For my Grandpa Buck, farming wasn't a job or even a way of life. It was a sacred act.
Easy, easy, easy.
For him, it wasn't the frozen tundra. It was the Garden of Eden.
Does your granddad know where you're headed?
He knows I'll be home later.
I couldn't do farming anymore. I was on my way out for some bigger dreams.
This ain't your land.
Well, when you don't pay your loan, it becomes my land.
What was that about?
Where the hell you been?
Talked to Goldie. Apparently she's got some musicians staying up at her cabin up on the big lake.
I'm Jenny.
Jenny, local musician. Cody said you might be stopping by.
How much do we owe the bank?
You think I like tearing down the little guy, Buck? You think I like it?
Well, your license plate says a-hole.
I will make a little wager with you. The pack go all the way. I will give you another year, interest-free. And if they lose, you sign everything over to me.
Take it.
Oh, we ain't betting folks, Jenny.
I want to take your tape and share it with my manager.
Your granddaughter's, she's really talented.
Yeah, I know that. You do anything to hurt her, and I will hunt you down, and I'll gut you like a 10-pointer.
Great.
What do you think you're doing? I'm gonna take the bet.
You better pray God owes the pack a favor.
Where stories here.
You know that no one cares about our little slice of nothing in the middle of nowhere.
I do.
I want to hear you before you become rich and famous.
No guarantee of that. You go chasing your hopes and your dreams, you forget who you are. And there is nothing worth the cost of losing everything that's wild and free.
In real life, miracles don't always arrive on time.
And the pack beat the Bears.
And the good guy doesn't always win.
You still believe in what we're doing?
More than anything.
Go back.
Do you have the chills?
I do.
That sounds really cool.
It
That sounds
does.
like a great film. I can't wait to see this. It opens January 31st. It's called Green and Gold. You might remember Craig T. Nelson sang the national anthem at the Packer game a couple weeks ago, and it was good. He did fine, right?
You know, everyone keeps saying this. That for an 80-year-old, he did great.
In the freezing
I didn't even
cold.
know he was 80.
Right.
In the first place.
He sung like a 65-year-old. He's got the pipes of a 65-year-old.
I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, no, I thought he did very well too. So we'll talk to Anders Lindwall in just a few minutes. He will be here at 7:20 to talk about Green and Gold. Do we know if it opens in Green Bay on the 31st?
It probably does.
I would assume it does, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another thing I saw when I was looking at the Tom Brady stuff today. Phrases like cool as hell. Tom Brady's cool as hell. Like, or colder than hell. People say all the time, like, these things that don't make any sense. It's colder than hell outside. Well, yeah. Even if it was summer, I would think it would be colder than hell.
I say a lot of different things for it being cold. And I don't know where it comes from. It just goes out of my mouth sometimes.
You're just spewing crap, is what you're saying.
Exactly. If I'm with my friends, all this nonsense going out of there.
Right. Here's a recommendation I'll make. If you haven't seen this yet, folks, and if you like true crime, Night Stalker from 2021, The Hunt for a Serial Killer. This is the anniversary this week of when it dropped in 2021. It's about Richard Ramirez and how the LAPD and the LA County Sheriff's Department tracked him down. I don't know if you remember that. It was a killing spree in the 80s. He was sneaking in through unlocked bedroom windows or open bedroom windows. And what I thought was fascinating about it is the focus was on, there are graphic details at times because of the nature of the show, but it was told in a way where it was from the point of view of the police. And it was really fascinating how they caught him. There were a couple near misses where they almost had him a matter of seconds, and they would have apprehended him before he could do more damage. But they ultimately caught him. And one of the detectives was a guy who also was involved in catching the Hillside Strangler, another prolific serial killer in Southern California. So, I don't know. Do you like true crime? Are you a true crime fan?
It has to be Vince Vaughn, you know.
Vince Bad Monkey? That's fictional, though.
I started reading the second book.
Oh, really?
It's so funny. If they do make a second season, that's going to be so funny.
I'm fascinated that you can read the book after having watched the show.
Well, I haven't read the original book yet. I'm onto the second one. So it's following Bad Monkey
after the first
and
season.
This one's called Razor Girl.
Okay. Same people?
Yes. Well, kind of. It's Vince Vaughn's in it.
Because he had a falling out with the partner who was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And is in a lot of stuff. I love that actor.
It's like totally different from what you think how it would continue on.
Okay. All right. I'll give it another. That's one of those shows I had to keep restarting because I either got distracted or fell asleep or whatever, but I did like it. I thought it was a good show. But definitely check out, if you like true crime, it's on Netflix, Night Stalker, 2021, The Hunt for a Serial Killer. I enjoyed it. I watched it with my daughter, and if you can get past a few graphic shots of crime scene photos, it is fascinating how they caught him, and I highly recommend it. All right, when we come back, filmmaker Anders Lindwall will be here. Another native son of the UP. This night is all about storytelling in the UP. I love a theme, Conrad. We need more themes on this show. Damn it, that's what's keeping us from worldwide fame. All right, Anders is coming up next. This is Pete Schwaba and Nite on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I remember
Denmark to De Pere. This is 97.9 WGBW. The Todd Alba Show.
What's worse, fast drivers or slow drivers? Karina listening on WAUK in Milwaukee.
Slow drivers are the worst. They think too slow. They stop in the middle of the highway to think about where they're going. Maybe they need to turn left and right. They changing lines for oh my God, I can do all day long.
Karina, can you tell us what you really think?
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. The Maggie Dawn Show.
Pete Hegseth, confirmation hearing.
I've never disparaged women serving in the military.
Except for, the podcast interview in late November of 2024 when he said women in combat weaken the military. Except for that, Pete, did you get body snatched? Are you not the same guy that sat down in the Brosphere podcast?
The Maggie Dawn Show. Weekdays from 2 till 4 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media app.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed. Oh, yeah? Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
It's easy to listen to your favorite local radio station anytime. Download the Civic Media app from the Apple or Google Play Store, then listen live or whenever you want from anywhere for free.
Out here in the middle of these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on Earth. That's how it feels when you're struggling with your mental health. But you don't have to feel alone. Find more information at loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Oh, Steady Eddie just sent us another text. Oh, this one's Tom Brady related. That's great. All right, we'll get to those too. We'll get to all your texts. Let us know, what is your least favorite band name, folks? That's the question of the night here on Night Light. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. You can text us on the stream as well or on the app. Text us any way you can, but text us. It's always more fun when you guys participate. Okay, we're going to turn our attention to filmmaking now. You guys might remember a few weeks ago, Craig T. Nelson sang the national anthem at the Packer game, and I heard about that. And I'm like, what the hell? And then I realized, well, it was all part of this promotional campaign for a great new movie that's coming out called Green and Gold, which has a serious Packer connection, and Craig T. Nelson is one of the actors in the film. So that got our wheels spinning here, and we tracked down the director, and he joins us now on Night Light. Anders Lindwall is on the phone. How are you doing, Anders?
Hey, doing great. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Excited to chat to you guys.
Our pleasure. Great to have you as well. Where are you calling, or where are we calling you? Because I know you're a native of the UP, but I know you're all over the place. Where are you calling home these days?
Yeah, as filmmakers, you never really know exactly where to call your home. But no, my stuff is in Colorado. But my brother and I, we go to the UP all the time. So we're always flying in and out of Green Bay Airport and then driving up to the UP.
Oh, that's great. Well, I think in our email exchange the other day, I told you my home these days is Marinette, Wisconsin. So I'm like a suburb of the UP. I'm right across the river. And you said
suburb of the UP. I like that.
I'm in the burbs.
Yeah.
And you said you spent time in Stevenson, which is like 30 minutes away. How much time did you grow up when you were a kid in the UP, or did you live there when you were a little older?
Yeah, no. So both my folks are from the UP, and so my mom actually grew up in Stevenson, Michigan, which is just down the road from you in Marinette there. But my dad was in Iron River, and so our childhood years were mostly in Iron River. But our grandfather was a dairy farmer in Stevenson, and so we had a family farm that was there, and we were going there all the time. It wasn't a functional dairy farm, but we still had the land, and it was still being used for agriculture.
That's so great.
So we were very familiar, and Marinette was always like where we'd that was like a big shopping center for us, That was exciting.
I've lived in two of the biggest cities in America most of my adult life, and I crack up because Marinette is a great place to live right now, and it's very easy to live there. But I love when I hear people from the farm community say, well, we go there to do all our shopping. And it's like, well, we are the mecca of shopping and fine restaurants. So
exactly.
Well, let's get back to the UP, but right now let's talk about your film. And first and foremost, how did you think Craig T. Nelson did singing the national anthem?
I think he did great. I mean, he's 80 years old. I don't know if folks know that.
Yeah.
And I don't know many 80-year-old folks who are just out there in about whatever it was, 15 degrees and able just to sing in front of 75,000 people on a spot. So he did so good, and it was fun. I could tell after, because I was down on the field with him there, and he's like, man, I'm coming down. That was an adrenaline rush, even for a guy like me. And so he had a great time with it and loved, he obviously over the years of doing this film has grown quite an affection for Wisconsin and the Packers community. So this was a real special way to kind of put the cherry on top.
Outstanding. All right. So tell us about Green and Gold. We played the trailer before. Tell us about the story and tell us how you found this project, Anders.
Yeah. So, it's always been a dream of mine to make movies, but there's no clear path to doing that. It's not like you get an internship and then you work your way up, or you go to college and then you get the job. Like there's really no path to it. You just have to kind of be in the right place at the right time, find the right network, land in a pocket of grace that and so for us, we had always had a passion for telling stories up north there about the UP and about our home. And so, we do commercials as like our day job. That's how we make a living. And so it was actually one of our commercial clients. He owned a NASCAR team, and they ended up winning the cup that year, and he was stoked. And he's like, what else are you guys doing? And we were like, well, we've got this film called, at that time it was called God Loves the Green Bay Packers, but it was a story, from growing up around dairy farmers in the farming community. We were familiar with the plight and the loss of small farms in America, and just that, just the real earnest hard work that farming is. And we also knew the loyalty of Packer fans, and we're surprised that there hadn't been like a major motion picture that really featured the Packers community. And so we told this to him, and he was like, you guys, this is a great idea. Let's do it. And so he was basically our first investor. And then, and we kind of started scaling up from there. And, it started as this little small project that it was just me and my brother. And then it, once we hit Craig T. Nelson, and then all of a sudden it was like kaboom. This is a real movie here. So
was he your first choice? Like, was he one of the first people you went to, or did you wait until you had the funds before you approached him, or was he kind of the guy you wanted right away?
Yeah, it's chicken or the egg when you're putting these projects together. It's like, how much money do you have? How much do you need? And so, but yeah, we, our casting directors, we reached out to them. They took our project because they were slow and in between. And they were like, hey, these are young guys. Let's give them a shot. We'll help them out. And so when we told our casting directors we wanted Craig T. Nelson, they kind of laughed. And they were like, okay, guys, who else do you want? And we said, no, we really want him. We feel like he kind of spans the generational length that we want the character to be, and because young kids know him as young Sheldon. And, for me, I knew him as Coach.
Yeah.
And there's like, but Gen Zers will know him as Parenthood, and so he really has spanned the years. And so it's fun to see a guy like him celebrated on so many different levels. But yeah, once he came on, he didn't do it because we were paying him a lot of money or anything. I mean, we are a tiny indie budget movie, but he read the script and he ended up calling us the next day, actually after. And our casting directors, they were like, "You guys, we cannot believe this, but he wants to talk to you." So so we had a great chat with him, and I think he, at this age in his career, he doesn't need to do anything for money. He doesn't need to do anything for his own ego. It's just projects that he believes in, responds to, and then also to do it along people that he believes in. And so that was, our first call was basically him just trying to evaluate what kind of what sort of heart we had and why we wanted to do this, and then he jumped on board.
Yeah, what a thrill. That's so great. And that's probably when you know, hey, we're making a movie. That's pretty exciting.
Exactly.
Anders Lindwall is my guest. He's the director of Green and Gold. We'll talk more with Anders after the news. We got a lot to discuss. He shot the film in Door County. I want to ask you about that, Anders, and a lot of questions. Great to have you here, buddy. We'll be right back with more Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network. You're listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW, home for Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. Good news in the aftermath of the Abundant Life Christian School shooting. The 2 victims still in the hospital have now been upgraded to good condition. The day of the shooting, the 2 students were in critical condition, and around Christmas, they were in fair condition. This may be the last update on them for a while from UW Health, who said now that they're in a good place in their recovery, the hospital will prioritize the patient's privacy. The state assembly approved a bill Tuesday that would put to Wisconsin voters a new amendment to the state constitution that requires a photo ID in order to vote. The legislation passed by a 54 to 45 margin. It puts the proposed amendment before the voters during the April 1st election. The measure was supported by the Assembly's Republican majority and received no votes from the Democratic state legislators. There is a state law already that requires a photo ID, and it was passed in 2011. Republicans are pushing to enshrine the measure into the state constitution to safeguard it from being struck down by the Wisconsin Supreme Court's liberal majority. According to the Associated Press, Wisconsin is one of 9 states that requires voters to present a photo ID to cast a ballot. The Wisconsin DNR confirms the first positive test result for chronic wasting disease in a wild deer in Manitowoc County. A hunter harvested the 1-year-old buck south of the Valders area within 10 miles of the Calumet and Sheboygan County borders. Because of the detection, a state-authorized baiting and feeding ban will go into effect for Manitowoc County on February 1st. Calumet County will renew a 2-year baiting and feeding ban that's already in place, and Sheboygan County already has a 3-year baiting and feeding plan in place for positive detections. Find out more about CWD at the DNR's webpage. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. 7-time Super Bowl champ and 1-time husband Tom Brady has come under fire all year long for his on-air gaffes while providing color commentary during NFL games. During last week's game between the Packers and Eagles, Brady accidentally referred to the Eagles as the Phillies, then later in the broadcast referred to Packers running back Josh Jacobs as Brandon Jacobs. This comes on the heels of Brady forgetting the name of one of the teams that beat the Packers during a recent telecast. In addition to Brady misspeaking, when his broadcast partner talks to him, he often nods his head so much a viewer could get vertigo. Yeah, he's not that great, but people on social media are losing their minds over his missteps. Word to the wise, if it's brilliant elocution you're looking for, don't try to find it on an NFL pregame broadcast from the guy who took shots to the head well into his middle age. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. A patch or 2 of freezing drizzle or flurries possible this evening, otherwise mostly cloudy tonight and rising temps through the 20s. Warmer tomorrow, more clouds, a high in the mid-30s. Upper 30s Friday. For the weekend, much colder temperatures and a bitter breeze. Right now it's 22.
Hey, it's John Mino and Jim Schmidt from Mino and the Mayor. Want to stay in the loop with all things Northeast Wisconsin? Sign up for the WGBW weekly newsletter.
Get the latest local stories, updates on the weather, and a special feature from our Mino and the Mayor podcast.
It's your one-stop shop for real news and great conversation in Northeast Wisconsin.
Log on to WGBW.FM today and get signed up.
Real news, great conversation. Sign up today at WGBW.FM/newsletter. The Todd Alba Show.
What's worse, fast drivers or slow drivers? Karina listening on WAUK in Milwaukee.
Slow drivers are the worst. They think too slow. slow. They stop in the middle of the highway to think about where they're going. Maybe they need to turn left and right. They changing lines for oh my God, I can do all day long.
Karina,
Yes,
can you tell us what you really think?
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app.
Did you know that art is actually good for you? We'll tell you all about it on the next New Wisco Weekend. I'm Lisa Hale.
I'm Terry Barr. From your health to our economy, how art impacts you and your community.
Saturday.
Conrad, that Night Stalker series is incredible. I don't care who you are. Once you watch that, you always make sure your doors and windows are locked. It didn't matter to that kook if you were male or female, black or white, young or old. No one was off limits. Quite the compelling series. Yeah, I agree, Bill. Thank you for the text. I watched it. My daughter went through this true crime phase, and she was only 3. So I'm kidding. But I got into it. I got into true crime with her, and I really did enjoy it. The Night Stalker, it's horrifying, but a really well-done series. Okay, on the phone right now is the director of the film Green and Gold. It opens wide January 31st, and it was shot right here in Wisconsin, and we have director Anders Lindwall on Nite right now. Anders, it's so great to have you here. What can you tell us about filming in Door County and what that was like?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was, we knew we would get Midwest hospitality shooting films here, but we didn't know how much. And so, because we were looking, you're kind of looking for a spot that is art friendly, like where people understand what you're trying to do. And so, but also we needed to be close to Green Bay for a scene we wanted to do around Lambeau, and then, obviously be near an airport. And so, and Door County obviously just has this natural beauty to it that was really exciting to us as filmmakers. So, but it was great. It was tough to find housing because everybody's up there in the fall. We didn't realize that, but a lot of hotels just really helped us out, like cleaning out closets basically for our crew to sleep in and that kind of thing. So,
wow.
But it was awesome. They shut down streets for us. Like the business owners of Sturgeon Bay, agreed to let us close down a street to rip a tractor down the middle of, Main Street. And, it was just such warm hospitality the whole time. The farmers all opened their doors. They all, initially, farmers can be really skeptical of film crew.
Right.
But once they got a chance to meet us and know what we were trying to do, they were just awesome. And so, yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better spot to film. In fact, it was so important to us to film there. One of the cool kind of stories was a studio actually wanted to buy the film. They caught wind of it 2 weeks before we were about to film.
Oh, wow.
And they wanted to buy the film and say, hey, let's wait a year and let's shoot down in Alabama for tax purposes. And that's not like a knock on them at all. That's just like smart business
Sure.
from like a film perspective. But it was like, here we had all these farmers ready to go. We had like the community of Door County was rallying, and we were like, man, so we politely had to call them and turn it down. And it ended up, at this point, it was the best offer that the film would have got. And,
wow.
But from an integrity standpoint, we wanted this to be, it's, for goodness sakes, it was a film at that point called God Love the Green Bay Packers. It's like, we gotta shoot it up. So, but we're proud of the decision we made, and we know that, all that stuff works out in the end. And so, but yeah, we'd love to shoot more movies in Door County and northern Wisconsin in general. So.
It's so funny because, I know there's a group of people trying to get incentives passed here in Wisconsin, and they are important, to get your film made. But I kind of went down this road myself, and I realized at the end of the day, like you just said, hotels opened their doors, farmers helped you out, they shut down streets. All of that stuff combined might offset incentives. I mean, when you have a community totally willing to get on board, you almost can't put a price on that.
Totally. Yeah, no, I think that was honestly one of our thought processes. And we actually pushed back on the deal when they presented. We said, listen, I know you guys think that you're going to save money, but we actually think it's just, you have people who they understand the spirit of what you're trying to do up here. Alabama, it's like, they don't know what, it's just a different community of people and for what we're dealing with here. So, so I think there is something to it. But I don't know enough. Like, this is our first crack at this. I know there's a lot of debate about the effectiveness of film incentives and whether or not they're good or not. But yeah, for us, it didn't matter. It was like the heart and soul of the project was there, and that's where we wanted to film it. So
that's great. If the Alabama people had gotten involved, it would have been called "God Loves to Roll Tide," or so they would have changed it somehow.
Yeah.
Just think about it, guys. That's all we're saying.
Totally.
How can you? Where specifically, if I can ask this, did you shoot in Door County? We go there a lot. I love Door County. I live right across the bay. But were there specific locations there that you liked? Were you trying to stay closer to Sturgeon Bay, or did you go up kind of in the deeper areas of Door County?
Yeah, we blanketed it pretty well. Like, we were there. Our families were there for probably 4 to 6 months. Mostly we were based in Sturgeon Bay. That was like the production headquarters. But we shot, there was a farm near Bailey's Harbor, a farm near Egg Harbor. We combined kind of 3 farms basically to make it into the appearance of one farm, just for, camera tricks and different angles and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, we drove all over. Some of the aerials, I forget what that like windy road is that's up at the top of Door County, but there's a really awesome aerial we got of this old, I think it's an 85 pickup that's ripping through that road. That was awesome. And so, yeah, but I feel like our whole crew wanted to buy, a lot of them were from out of state, had come up, not a lot of them, probably 50% or so. And they loved it up there and wanted to buy property up there, and they're like, this is amazing, And so,
it's a very special place and very beautiful, no question. Totally cinematic as well. We were talking about Craig T. Nelson, Anders, and once you got Craig T. Nelson, it seems like, and you put a really good cast together. Did I read this right? Emmett Walsh, was this his last film project? Yeah. Yeah.
This will be his last film project. He did film one more movie after ours, but that one already released. So this will be his final released film, which is really special.
Then you got Brandon Sklenar, who is one of the stars of 1923. Very popular actor right now. Was this a case? I like to tell this story. The Farrelly brothers, when they were making Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura came out, and all of a sudden they have like the biggest movie star in the world in their movie.
I didn't know that story. It's exactly that type
really?
of thing.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, we picked the right racehorse on that one. But it was, I mean, Brandon was noticeably, I mean, when they submitted his audition to us, he was so good.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this guy's really good. And, he came up and was a total pro. I mean, he takes his craft very seriously. And so, but yeah, when we were up there filming, at lunch, I was just chatting. I was like, what are you doing next? He's like, well, I got, a callback for the 1923. I was like, wow, that's very cool, man. And while we were still filming, he texted me and was like, dude, I got it.
Wow.
And then, he went right from that to the film It Ends With Us.
Oh, yeah.
Which came out. He's the good guy in that, just to clarify. But yeah, which, that was a huge movie this summer. And so, yeah, he's just rocking and rolling. Actually, he's currently on another film out east. I was trying to get him at Lambeau when Craig was there, but he was just in the process of filming, and you just can't pull him away from that. So,
sure.
But yeah, he's a great guy. He's been such a support of the film, and I always joke with him. I'm like, dude, I believed in you when nobody else did. Just remember that.
Yeah.
Just remember that.
Always remind him that you discovered him. They love to hear that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, all right. So you hit a home run with the cast. You got the Packers, a worldwide brand, so recognizable. You shot in beautiful Door County. Where did the actual idea come from? Was this from one of your investors, or was this a story that you and your brother found? And then let's talk about your brother's involvement. That must have been fun to work with your brother.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so the story really came, we wanted to shoot something, because this is our first time ever doing something like this. So we wanted to do something at a scale that we could do it justice. And so it wanted to be a really simple story. So For us, we grew up around, obviously our grandfather was a dairy farmer, but then also the spirit of community benevolence is something that was really strong. Like our folks were always, helping out different people around town, or, if somebody had cancer, the whole town would throw the spaghetti feed together and try to, it was culturally something that we thought was so beautiful and so necessary. It felt like at this time in the world, everybody feels like they're more polarized and, things can feel heavy and, all the kids on social media it's just like, there's just all this buzz going on. And it felt like, man, if we can make something that's just like simple, true, and beautiful, like how could the people not want to watch that right now, and it's hard to write a happy song, and so but we had like an artistic integrity we wanted to do with it. That was something else that was really critical to us, is we didn't want, we always, especially with that area, we just have such a fondness for it. It was like, man, I don't want it to look like Fargo or feel like these hokey dokey people. Like I want it to tell the true story of the people that are up there and how they love and take care of one another. So
what you just said is interesting because it reminds me of something I read on your website, which in the About section about you, it says his hope for his work is to temporarily draw people out of the universal ache of human suffering and inspire them with childlike goodness and beauty. Without having seen the film yet, that sounds like what you just described.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's because I think, the truth of it is, I think in cinema, as we've gone more towards trying to tell, we want it to feel real, we want it to feel authentic. The nature of that has like turned darker and darker to me, where they're like, because it is like, I'm not going to pretend like life isn't hard and really, really tough at times. But, if you forget the fact that life also is really, really beautiful and has really beautiful and amazing pockets to it. And so it felt like that was an important thing just to remind people of and what we ultimately want to keep doing with stories too.
That's great. You have to find the beauty in the ache of human suffering. Very well said. My guest is Anders Lindwall. His film Green and Gold opens January 31st. Very excited to see the film. What was it like working with your brother, Anders?
Yeah, he's the best, man. So he's 6 years younger than me. And so, but he's a cool cucumber. So he's the producer on the film, one of the producers, alongside another guy named Aaron Boyd, who's more experienced than both of us. But David really was leading a lot of the boots on the ground. He was the first one to move his family up to Door County and would just drive around and meet with farmers and just start trying to like figure out where we're going to do this. And so, yeah, but him and me have been both in the driver's chair together, just kind of, just working hand in hand. And it's really special. I mean, we weren't super close as kids. Like he was like always my little brother.
Yeah.
But once, as we got older, I think we just have very different but complementary skills. And so we work really well together. There's almost never any friction, which I'm thankful for. So.
That's so great. How is it going from, commercials, which I know it probably a much more steady work. You seem very established. Was it scary going to do your first feature film, or was there more kind of an adventurous spirit? And what gets you more excited moving forward?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I mean, commercials pay so much better than movies, unless you're working at like an elite level and you're churning them out in Hollywood. We're kind of like it's mostly a volunteer gig, to be honest with you. And so I guess, there was a lot of inherent risk to it where, at a certain point we started turning down jobs. I remember it was like 4 weeks before production, I had to I got a job in Dubai of all things. Oh. And so I told Dave, and I was up in Wisconsin. I was like, dude, I got to fly and take this. And that can like tide us over for another couple months, to get through production. So that's been the biggest challenge, is where like, because you're not really getting fed off of the movie budget. The movie budget, you're just like trying to make sure the camera is rolling.
Yeah.
And so, the commercials really have like paid our bills. So I think the hardest part is like, we don't get a chance to really break at this point. So like as soon as the movie was done, it was like we were back on commercial gigs, and in between the edits, we were editing, and then we were running to whatever brand to shoot different kinds of projects. So
that's great.
I think the beauty of the balance, if we can figure it out, is a lot. I think what's helped our product is because we are because we work in commercials, we are thinking about the audiences constantly. And so I think with this film, we were always very audience minded.
Hey, Anders, can we pick up right there? We got to do a really quick thing here, and then we'll do a couple more minutes. This is great. Anders Lindwall is here, folks. We'll be right back.
WGBW.
Hey, it's me time at Chula Vista. Time for you to pamper yourself. Wisconsin's most complete resort experience has everything you want. Fine-tuned for 70 years by 4 generations of the Kaminsky family, Chula Vista can be easygoing with colorful scenic river walks, 18 holes of classic golf, a relaxing spa, or you can go all out in 80,000 square feet of indoor water park. Zip-lining through canyon views in Chula's Aerial Adventure Park. And dining comes any way you like it, from pizza to Wisconsin's #1 ranked steakhouse. More than 600 guest rooms to choose from, with $10 million in updates. Chula Vista, everything you've been wanting, all right here on site. Check it out at chulavistaresort.com.
Miles and miles of freshly groomed cross-country and hiking trails. Ski, sled, snowshoe. Warm up at our indoor water park. chulavistaresort.com.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. In the first week of the new session of the Wisconsin State Legislature, Republicans fast-tracked a measure that would put a question on the ballot in the upcoming spring election that would enshrine voter ID in the state constitution. 2 things on this. First, it is telling that Republicans made this their very first order of business. Senate Democratic leader Dianne Hesselbein responded to this saying it's not cost of living or health care or gun violence that Republicans wanted to focus on, but a constitutional amendment. Telling, isn't it? But that leads to the second piece. Republicans are clearly doing this for politically motivated reasons. By having this on the spring election ballot, they're betting it will make it more likely that people who showed up to vote for Donald Trump in November will be heading to the polls to help elect right-wing candidate Brad Schimmel to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. That election is on April 1st, so buckle up.
We are back. Great to have you with me on this Wednesday night. We are talking to Director of Green and Gold. Got a couple more minutes here with Anders Lindwall. Anders, we really appreciate your time tonight. I know how scarce it can be because you got this movie coming up. I'm sure you're doing all kinds of press, so your time is very much appreciated. And I'm sorry to have had to cut you off. We have very hard breaks here where the computer just kind of takes over. So
no worries at all.
But please continue. You were talking about, you were telling this great story.
Yeah, just about like the blend. I think because we work commercially, and we've done ads for National Geographic or Nike or Levi's. Like I think we think about audiences in a way that a lot of filmmakers don't. And so, yeah, I think the goal is that hopefully we can make something that appeals to audiences, but also has like doesn't forget the real story and deep. Deep, rich, and meaningful things of life. So.
That's a great answer. So who are your influences as a filmmaker? Like when you set out to make this film, or who did you grow up watching, I guess?
Yeah, I grew up watching a lot of Westerns, and one of the funny things about this is I'm not a real movie history geek, but I think, for a while, I was mentored by the director M. Night Shyamalan. So I'd spent some time in Philadelphia, and he came alongside and hired me actually to shoot some kind of like documentary work on stuff he was doing. And so I got a chance to really watch him work in a fun way. And his movies are obviously very polarizing. I think there's a lot of things I would take and leave from his approach, but he was always really gracious and encouraging of me to do this. And so he had a big impact on me. And then there's another guy named Terrence Malick. Are you familiar with his work at all?
Yeah, Thin Red Line. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for a lot of filmmakers my age, kind of like the younger, I'm like 40 years old, but we're considered like the younger filmmaker because it takes so long to figure out how to do this. But, he's a big inspiration of talking about matters of faith and spirituality and has like, just like how his approach with how he works with actors has always been really inspiring to me too. So he's another one that I kind of look to.
That's interesting because I find his stuff very cinematic and beautiful. And you went the actor route with him, which obviously he's great at, but his stuff just picture wise is so great. He's a phenomenal film. Those are two amazing influences. Before we let you go, I ask everybody I have on the show, what are you watching? Can you recommend something that is binge worthy or something in the theaters that you may have seen?
Oh man, we've been honestly working on this so long and so hard that I barely get a chance to watch anything myself. Like anytime I can step away from a screen, I kind of choose to do it because we're just baked to it. But the last thing I watched that was interesting was I watched Triangle of Sadness. Have you seen that film?
No, I have not.
Yeah, that would be worth checking out. There was, it's definitely kind of lends itself to sort of this, has some like darker feelings about it, but I thought it was really thought provoking for me.
Thank you so much for your time tonight, Anders, and congrats on the movie. We'll be watching. It was so great to meet you, and so great to hear about your approach and all things green and gold. This is fantastic. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Anytime. All right. Break a leg. Thank you.
Pete.
That is Anders Lindwall. That was fun. Look for Green and Gold. It opens January 31st nationwide. And, we'll be pulling for him. That's a great, it's a scary time, but so exciting. And, boy, he sounds like a sharp guy. That was really fun. I'd also like to thank Jody Hinman, another UP. I live in the burbs of the UP, Conrad. That's what we've established tonight. I'm out there. I'm out there in the suburbs of Marinette. We got some texts we got to get to here. Steady Eddie says, Pete, I don't go out of my way to criticize Tom Brady, and I don't blame Tom Brady for taking the money, $37.5 million a year for 10 years. Maybe he needs the money. Eddie says, I blame Fox Sports. Do they think more people are going to tune in because Tom Brady is doing commentary? Turns out he's not that good at it. There must be many other more deserving candidates for the job. I mute Brady's football broadcasts, and I'm not crazy about his partner in the booth either. What really underinflates my footballs, Pete, is that I have informed Fox Sports that I am willing to do the job for half of the $37.5 million a year. I have not heard back from them yet, in all caps. Hang in there, Steady Eddie. He says, great name for a sports announcer. Steady Eddie, yes. Don't you think? Or maybe I should go with Steadfast Edward. I don't know. What do you think about that, K-Man? Steady Eddie. Because football's all about betting, and that sounds like a bookie name, I would go
It kind of does, yeah.
Steady Eddie's the guy who will break your legs if you don't pay.
Is it more scary as Steadfast Edward or Steady Eddie?
Steadfast Edward is a cool customer who wears a derby and a suit and never makes a bad move. Like Anders just talked about his brother. Steadfast Edward is cool as a cucumber, but Steady Eddie's more of a badass. Aunt Carla checks in. She says, Spandau Ballet is a weird band name and can't wait to see Green and Gold on January 31st. Reminds me of the movie in the 80s, Country, with Jessica Lange and Sam Shepard. Yeah, that's a great... I've never seen that film, Aunt Carla, and I love both of those actors. Sam Shepard is a guy born and raised in Minnesota. I think Sam Shepard and Jessica Lange lived in northwest Wisconsin for a while on a lake called Lake Nebagaman. My buddy Dave Hendrick is from up that way, and they have kind of a cool story. Sam Shepard no longer with us, but I'll have to see Country. That was great. Thank you for all your texts and being part of LIte. Thank you to Anders Lindwall and Jody Hinman. Tomorrow night on the show, we've got from Wisconsin foodie Arthur Ursink will join me. And we'll be talking about a cool new arts center that hopefully will happen in Northeast Wisconsin with Wendy DeZurek and Trig Rude. That's tomorrow night on LIte. Thanks for being with me, everybody. On behalf of the lovable producer, Conrad, good night, Wisconsin.
I'll take you to your best friend's house. Marmalade, we're making out, oh yeah.
You're listening to the